Welcome back, and we're with Howard Franks from Camera Electronics, our special guest for today. Howard, we've just been talking about the break about where we're going in the future, where you're going to go in the future, and some tips for those members of family businesses, those people that are going through the transition, whether they're a parent or a next-genner. So give us a picture of where Camera Electronics is going in the future.
Well, where are we going in the future? Certainly expanding more into online. I didn't probably touch on it earlier when you asked about the shops, but it's not just one touch point online of our main website now. We're also on Amazon, eBay, Catch. There's so many places you have to be these days. Trying to expand those touch points in the market. We were just in a marketing meeting last week, and they were explaining to us that it used to be 2.5 touch points somebody would have before they purchase something, and now it's 16 touch points by the time they buy something, by the time you've checked, you know, in a catalogue and TV and radio, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. It can be 16 touch points somebody has before they buy something. So trying to expand the business to make sure we're in all of those spots in the right ways at the right time, which is not necessarily a family thing, but certainly an important part of the business, and for us to understand that and get the right people around us that are experts in those areas. That's certainly an area we're moving in the future. And especially being in a tech industry, fast moving like cameras and electronics, you really need to be at the forefront of those things. People say we're going to have another store. We only opened our second store 2.5 years ago in the middle of the city. We're going to go into the East Coast. Never say never, but I don't know. It's always a possibility, but no immediate plans for that. Potentially expanding into other categories and selling and diversifying a bit in the business to sell and service different industries, and not just the things that we're doing at the moment. Is definitely a real possibility, and exploring that and where those possibilities may take us. And as far as the family goes, look, we don't want the kids to come into the business by default. We want them to find their own identity, so we try and provide the best educational opportunity we can for them to let them find their own way. If they work a bit part-time in the business through their school years and uni years, hopefully, and as they work out what they're doing, you know, that's fine. But we don't want them to go into the business as a default or feel like they have to. We sort of want them to achieve their own identity and achieve more than us, and hopefully achieve more without working as hard as we do, which, you know, every parent wants for their kids and wants better. So will they end up in the business? I'm not sure. Time will tell. As I said, my brother's got 3 children, I've got 2. It'd be lovely to see in some ways, and in others, you know, it'd be good that they find their own way as well. So yeah, we'll come back to that one in 10 years, I think.
Okay. Well, what you're saying is it's a learning process from
absolutely.
the family point of view.
Oh, definitely.
You went through it with your brother and your dad and mum, and how that's evolved.
Yeah.
You and your brother each have your own separate families, and
definitely,
you know, that kind of growth. You know, you're both happy and you're living in Perth and you communicate really well.
Definitely.
And that augurs well for the future.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose the other thing into the future is, which it took us a long time to learn, which is also very different to the way Dad ran things. Dad micromanaged everything, kept everything very close to his chest, and didn't share anything with anybody, even us, a lot of the time. Whereas we've tried to evolve into a different way of bringing in a management team, letting them grow, getting in good people that provide them the opportunity to provide a career path in the company, and it lets us grow as well, and then elevate to work more on the business and look at the different ideas and opportunities. And we really feel like we've got the right people in around us now, and we've got a really good team working with us, and that's been good, which has allowed for the growth of the business to pay for more people and more families and feed more families, as you alluded to earlier, which is, you know, it's come a long way from what Dad started, but there's no way we could have done it without his foundation either, and his foresight with the way he did things. Even our main building now, when he bought it everyone thought he was a bit crazy because of the size of it and the size of the business. And it was really just good foresight for the future.
Okay. Tips. If there were 3 or 4 things that you would be able to say you've experienced that you can say, this works really well, it has worked really well for us, and you think it could be valuable for somebody else?
Yeah. Okay. If you think you're doing something well and you're leading in your market with it or something like that, don't rest on your laurels and think that it's going to keep on being that way. Make sure that you keep on doing that and keep on paying attention to it, because otherwise somebody else will take that off you. That's a pretty important one, I think. When you've got a problem that relates with a person, whether it be a staff member, your boss, a supplier, a customer, address it straight away. Don't let it stew. The longer you leave it go, the worse it'll be. So even if it's a bit of a tough conversation, you just need to have that conversation.
That applies both to family and for business.
As soon as possible. You know, when you tell your kid off 3 days after they've done something wrong, they don't know what you're telling them off for anymore, do they? And yeah, we've all been guilty of that at times, and it's something that Saul and I have found a bit the last few years. When you get really busy and you think, oh, I'll deal with that challenge with the person, and you know, I'll do it in an hour. Next thing you know, it's been 3 or 4 days, and it becomes a lot more awkward conversation, a lot trickier to solve the challenge. So that's something, certainly when there's an issue, just deal with it respectfully and professionally, but as quickly as you can. That's certainly very important. And probably just try and get that right balance between risk and reward. If you never take any risks in your business and your life, well, you probably won't really achieve anything. But at the same time, you need to be a bit measured with it and not risk so much that if it doesn't work out, that you end up in a bit of a pickle. And just learn from your mistakes. Don't be scared to make mistakes, but learn from them and don't make the same ones more than once if you can help it.
Fantastic tips. I think there's also something I'd like to share with you that I find is wonderful in your relationship with your brother, and that's the level of communication you have. Yeah. You have no inhibitions about calling each other and speaking the truth the way you see it, so that you both understand what the issue is that you're talking about.
Absolutely, you have to.
That level of communication you talked about earlier, the trust you have, that is the bedrock from any family business, the way I see it. It's your foundation. Yes, you have the financial foundation, but the cultural, that value foundation that you deal with your brother on a day-to-day basis, I think it really sets the foundation for the family going forward too. Oh,
absolutely. So one other thing I forgot along those lines, and speaking of the tips, is communication and relationships. Never underestimate it. There's nothing like picking up a phone and speaking to somebody, going and seeing somebody face to face, working on your relationships with people all the way through, whether it be your peers, your staff members under you, your boss, your customers, your suppliers, whoever it is. Never forget that we're all in the same business. We're in the people business, we often say. And the relationships with people and the way you treat them, it's so important. If you need to have an awkward conversation with somebody, do it respectfully. And it makes such a difference that to actually have a conversation with somebody, don't just do it on an email or a text, which so many people do these days. Actually have a conversation with somebody. Face to face is best, but if not, at least a verbal conversation. And that way you can read somebody's body language, you can read their voice. It's not just an email that you can read 10 times and take 10 different meanings from it. And we found that's been super important in our business, to have strong relationships with people.
So at this point, I'm going to say thank you, because this, I think, has been a wonderful interview. I really appreciate your time. If people want to get onto Camera Electronics' website, what would be the website or contact information?
Sure, so cameraelectronic.com.au, or come and see us 230 Stirling Street, Perth, or 324 Murray Street, Perth.
Fantastic. So thank you all. Thanks again to Tech, our sponsors for today. And if you want to contact me, John Broons, the family business guy, Don't forget to subscribe once you've watched the show. And you can contact me at john@johnbroons.com. Thanks very much.